Welcome back to DCS. Today, we're looking at Petrovich, the AI gunner for the Hind. At the end of April 2026, he received new capabilities, further strengthening the Mi-24's ability to find targets and engage with anti-tank guided missiles. Whilst it can take some time to master the Hind's quirks, it's a far simpler beast than the likes of the Apache. What it lacks in complicated sensor suites, it makes up for in hard-hitting utility. So let's begin. First, head to your control bindings. Look for Mi-24P Petrovich AI Helper in the drop-down menu. Find Petrovich Helper Interface up, down, left, and right. These are best set to a POV hat or a castle switch. Now, find Mi-24P Pilot in the first drop-down menu, and scroll down to Petrovich AI Helper in the second drop-down menu. Find AI Helper Interface Show Hide and designate Custom AI Attack Point. You'll also want to bind Fix Site Gyro. With heavy maneuvers, it's possible for the 9K113 site's gyros to become misaligned. This new command will instruct Petrovich to realign them and takes around 2 to 3 minutes. Before we do anything else, let's get our systems fired up. Long pressed up will give Petrovich the command to power up the entire suite for both unguided and guided weapons.
Turning off weapons.
Unguided weapons will spool up in around 10 to 15 seconds, whilst guided weapons take around 3 minutes.
Commander weapons ready.
By pressing AI Helper Interface Show Hide, we have a UI that's very familiar to those who use George in the Apache, with some similar commands. Relating the visual positioning of each command to their control functionalities by moving from the center outwards can help us understand how they work. The inner circle represents our AI wheel center binding. The top half is the command given with a short press, half a second or less. The bottom half is a command given by a long press, anything longer than half a second press. AI wheel center short would be, in this case, a Boresight search. AI wheel center long would be a forward area search. The middle ring represents a Petrovich direction input as a short press. For example, Petro's short press up would command a pilot line of sight search. Petro's short press down would toggle the observation sight on or off. Petro's short press right would cycle to the next missile. The outer ring represents any of the given Petrovich inputs as a long press. In this case, Petro long press up would command him to enter free fire mode. Long press down would command him to search for 9K113 line of sight. Now, let's move our eyes over to the pilot line of sight crosshair. By default, this will provide us with 3 sets of information. The top hint box shows us the current azimuth of your line of sight. The bottom right shows our elevation and depression, plus or minus. Bottom left shows the degrees left or right in relation to the aircraft's boresight. This information can be disabled via the mission editor. Select your aircraft, head to Aircraft Additional Properties, and tick Disable Hint Boxes in AI Crosshair. Now we understand the relationship between the control bindings and the interface, we can start by looking at the Countermeasures Management UI. Unlike George, we don't have multiple pages to the directional UI. Petrovich only employs the 9K113 site with the 9M114 missiles. With a long press left, however, we do have a Countermeasures Management UI. It's good to make sure this is set up before combat. With this visible, pressing up short will switch the countermeasure interval between 2 and 4. 2 dispenses every 3 seconds, whilst setting 4 every 5 seconds. Pressing right short will switch between a series of 4 countermeasures or 16 countermeasures. Down short will define the baskets that launch countermeasures between left, both, or right side. Lastly, down long will switch the countermeasure types between chaff and flares. Since chaff is not loaded, this will default back to flares only. Short press left will get us back to the UI wheel. Let's take a look at the new target selection controls. We can action these with Petro long press right. With Target Gunner, Petrovich will prioritize targets based upon threat priority, such as AAAs or SAMs, and immediately slew the 9K113 site. He will not provide the player with a target list. With Target Pilot, Petrovich will defer and supply you with a list of targets to engage upon your discretion. This is what we'll be used to in previous iterations. With that in mind, and Target Pilot selected, let's first use Pilot Line of Sight Search. Petro's short press up will uncage the observation site to the pilot line of sight. On initial activation, it will take around 10 to 15 seconds for the 9K113 site to spool up. So keep this in mind and plan ahead for your attack or observation run. As you can see, Petrovich has now found and identified some targets. We now have a target list that has appeared on the lower left of the screen. Depending on range and visibility, Petrovich will be able to identify a target as friend, foe, or neutral. At larger distances, he will simply categorize, for instance tank or APC. At closer ranges, he will identify targets by their class, such as T55 or BTR-60. Long press left will switch between all targets and hostile targets. Then long press right will switch back to all targets. Short press up and down will cycle through targets on Petro's list. AI wheel center short press will mark a target for Petrovich's shoot list in sequential order. Pressing again will remove the target. Once you're happy, Petro's short press right will begin tracking on the marked or the first in your list target. If you want to cancel or reset, Petro's short press left will exit the list to start again. To review the same area, we can use Search 9K113 line of sight with Petrovich long press down. With Petro long press up, you can toggle between hold fire and free fire modes. In hold fire, Petro will wait for a fire command via the AI wheel center short press. In free fire mode, he will wait until you are aligned and engage the target. If you have multiple targets on a shoot list, he will work through them as targets are destroyed. We now have Boresight and forward area search. With AI wheel center short press, Petrovich can perform a search along the bore sight of the ASP-17 gun sight. And with AI wheel center long press, a forward area search is commanded and Petrovich will slew the 9K113 site in a continuous longitudinal search pattern forward of your helicopter. This is especially useful for situational awareness during ingress. Last of all, we have the new custom attack command. Sometimes you may need to engage a target that does not populate into a target list, such as buildings, bridges, and bunkers. Using Designate Custom AI Attack Point, we can bring up a new UI layout. You can now adjust Petrovich's aim point using long presses of AI Helper up, down, left, and right. Once you're ready, align the target to the Boresight and press AI Wheel Center short press to launch a missile.
Launch.
Once you're done, hit AI Helper down short to exit.
Absorb off.
So here's a few last tips to keep in mind when employing Petrovich. 1. Uncaging the 9K113 sight gyros can take a good 10 to 15 seconds. Be sure to plan ahead before engaging a target on an attack run. 2. Fly smoothly and avoid large maneuvers whilst guiding in a missile. This will ensure Petro stays on target and avoids a miss. 3. Whilst Petrovich will stow the 9K113 automatically with a large maneuver, try to get into the habit of hitting Petro short press down to observe off and stow the sight after an attack run. This avoids misaligning the gyros. 4. If they do become misaligned, fixed sight gyro command will shut the sights down and Petrovich will realign the gyros. Be aware, this can take a few minutes to complete. 5. AI will center, designate custom AI attack point, fixed sight gyro, prepare weapons, and cycle missile type do not require the AI wheel UI to be on screen to function. This means you can perform a Boresight or forward area search without opening the UI. With his new functionalities, it's very clear how Petrovich and the Apache's George AI share common technologies. With each improvement to the one, it seems that the other may later benefit. I'll be curious to see how both progress going forward. I would say it would be great to see a Hind E in the future with 12.7mm gun turret, just to give Petrovich a bit more to do. Here's hoping. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If it's been helpful, please drop me a like, comment, or sub. It'd be much appreciated. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.